Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Real Sports Updates here, back again with another video. You see the title, you see the thumbnail. Let's get into it. So, basically, the Chargers have had a really good offseason, really great offseason, by any metric that you want to use. Tom Telesco, Brandon Staley, they really have hit it out the park in free agency. They used trades, and then they also had a really good draft as well too. They drafted players that are going to fit the scheme that Brandon Staley wants to run on defense, and they also drafted players who are going to bring a physical presence that the Chargers haven't had in a really long time. So there is a lot of talent on this team. There's going to be a lot of guys who I think are going to have breakout seasons for the Chargers, but the elephant in the room is still here, and that is the right tackle position. And a lot has been made about, who the Chargers would take at right tackle in the draft. There was, not a lot of talk, but there was some talk about, potential right tackle in free agency. There's been talk everywhere, about a right tackle. So at this point right now, I think the Chargers I don't think they're happy, but they are probably content with the guys that they have on the roster right now at this point. But I kind of wanted to just break it down a little bit and kind of get a little further into the numbers and give my pick on who I think is going to start at right tackle for the Chargers in 2022, at least at the start of 2022. A lot of things happen, injuries, bad play, even bad matchups to some degree. But I think for the most part, there's guys on the roster now who the Chargers are going to go with. And, if things don't look well or if things are not going well at the position, there are, other options. There are substitutes that the Chargers can go to. And I think that is, as far as the offensive line is concerned, you want to have all five positions, solidified. At this point right now, there's four, which is good. 80% of the offensive line is solidified. It's just that right tackle position that, I think there is. And even if you don't have a right tackle, I think this is probably the most ideal situation that you can be in. Even if you don't have that position solidified, you do have multiple options that you can go to if if need be, and if things get bad enough, right? And we, as Charger fans, hope that doesn't come, and we hope that is not even in the cards this season. But all scenarios have to be entertained, right? Especially for a long 17-game season. Like I said, injuries happen, so you kind of have to go at this on a week-by-week basis at the right tackle position, right? You want to have this thing solidified, but there are going to be a lot of challenges in the AFC West. Just within the division, there's going to be a lot of challenges. Upgraded pass rushing. A lot of these teams have had upgraded pass rushers. The Raiders got Chandler Jones to go along with Max Crosby. The Broncos, they have spent some money on their defensive line in free agency. Randy Gregory, DJ Jones, and the Kansas City Chiefs, they still have Chris Jones. They still have Frank Clark. They drafted George Karlaftis out of Purdue. So just within the division, just within the AFC West, there are multiple pass rushers who can cause problems when it's time to match up. So I kind of wanted to just dive into the numbers a little bit and kind of give my opinion / breakdown on who I think will be starting and why. So without further ado, let's get started. So Storm Norton, last season, he played the right tackle position pretty much all season long. I believe he missed one start, and that was that Kansas City game on that Thursday night. And Trey Pipkins filled in for him. He did a really good job. He was very admirable that night. He didn't really allow, too much to happen. And anytime you're watching the game and you don't hear an offensive lineman's name called, that's a good thing. So, and I really didn't hear his name called all game. So he was pretty good. He allowed the Chargers to do what they wanted to do offensively. But going forward, you're looking at filling this right tackle position for the entire season, right? You don't want to have a revolving door, so to speak, at right tackle. So Storm Norton last season, 2021. He played 1,078 snaps, which was a lot. He played most of the season. Um, and had it been for him not missing that Thursday night game, he would have probably played, I think, top 5 to top 3 snaps in the league as far as offensive linemen go. So, he already gets a point there because his durability, for him to be able to get out there every Sunday and compete, that's definitely a big thing. They always say, your best ability is availability. Storm Norton is available week in and week out. So, that's definitely a huge plus. So of those, 1,078 snaps, he had 6 penalties. Now, those penalties, a lot of those penalties, they can be, they can be graded down a little bit. I want to say they don't really have too much weight with me. Last year the Chargers were running a brand new offensive scheme. We seen early in the season the Chargers kept getting a bunch of penalties. Two men in motion, the illegal motion penalties. There were several penalties where I think players were not 100% comfortable running the new offensive scheme that Joe Lombardi brought from New Orleans. So guys were just kind of getting settled into the role. So I didn't go down and down the list and break down all 6 penalties, but I would guess that a majority of them probably happened in the first half of the season, right? First 7 to 8 games. So that doesn't have it doesn't hold too much weight with me. Especially when you're running a new offense, right? You have to be able to adjust. You need a little time to adjust. You need to have, a certain amount of time, to make those mistakes without being penalized for them and saying that you're a bad player. So those don't hold too much weight with me. Now, the one thing that is alarming about Storm Norton last season, he allowed 9 sacks. Now, that is not, it's not the worst. It's not the worst thing that you've ever seen, but it is a lot for a team that does have lofty expectations, right? That expects to make a pretty good postseason run, right? That is too much at the right tackle position. That's too much for any position on the offensive line. So the 9 sacks were very worrisome, and a lot of these sacks came against pass rushers who are a little bit speedier and can get around the corner and can bend around the corner. He seems to struggle with those pass rushers more so than the bigger guys who just take him on head on and bull rush him. He kind of struggles with the guys who are able to bend the corner. And we all seen the Week 18 game against the Raiders. Max Crosby got around the corner several times on him. So that's a cause for concern. It's not nothing. So I think that's going to be taken into account as well too. But you're never going to be a perfect player in the NFL. So I think that is his weak point. And I think, coming into this season, I'm sure Brandon Staley, I'm sure Joe Lombardi, I'm sure all of the offensive staff, the offensive line coach, everybody is going to be working with him on this. And, he needs to, get out of his stance a little quicker against the faster pass rushers. And he's got to be able to push them out a little more and not let them get, turn the corner. If they're turning the corner, then it needs to be a really, really wide corner so they have a lot of ground to cover before they even come close to the quarterback. So I think he needs to be a little quicker with that. That is something that he can improve. That is something that I've seen linemen improve on. So, hope is not lost for him, but it is alarming. The 9 sacks is alarming. But that was Storm Norton in 2021, right? Not a really great season, but not a bad season by any stretch either. There were some bad moments, but as far as the season goes, the totality of the season, it wasn't bad. It's just kind of average. But again, a team that expects to make a deep run, you kind of want to shore that position up, and you want to be a little bit better than average. So I think there's going to be a competition in camp with him and Trey Pipkins, right? Storm Norton and Trey Pipkins. They're going to be a competition to see, who can hold down that right tackle position, who can hold down that right side of the line, and who can hold it down better, right? And I think for me, And Trey Pipkins' numbers from 2021, right? He wasn't a starter. So let me just point that out because he doesn't have the numbers that Storm Norton does. But Trey Pipkin played 173 snaps, and he only had one penalty in those 173 snaps, right? Which is a pretty good, pretty good sample size, right? He was not penalized very much, which is a good thing. He allowed 0 sacks, right? And that's not really a thing. He only had 173 snaps, so I mean, it is good that he didn't allow a sack in those 173, but it's really not enough of a sample size to say, hey, this guy really dominated. But he was better. He was considerably better than he was years past, and he was considerably better than he was even in the preseason last year. I think there's a lot of Charger fans who wanted Trey Pipkins cut at the end of the final preseason game against Seattle last season because he really did stink to join up. And I'll be honest, it was one of the worst offensive line performances I've ever seen in the preseason. So it was very eye-opening, and I was like, wow, this guy cannot be on the field protecting Herbert. But, to his credit, he kind of, shored some things up, as far as his technique goes. And he was good, and he did what the Chargers asked him to do in, the reserve role. So you got to give him credit for that as well, too. But, his thing is he does struggle sometime as well, too. He kind of has the same issues that Storm Norton has, right? The real fleet-footed guys, right? They're able to get around him very quickly, right? And he's not able to get out of his stance quick enough. He's not able to, push them out, get enough of their bodies to push them out to, really shield them away from the quarterback and really, like I said, make them come around a wide corner before the quarterback gets rid of the ball and all of that. But I think this is going to be one of the position battles, not just with the Chargers to watch, but NFL wide. I think a lot of people are going to be watching this because you want to see who's going to be pretty much the weak link, right? I think a lot of teams who are going to face the Chargers are going to say, okay, whoever's starting, we need to start scouting whoever the weakest link is, right? And they're probably going to be looking between these two gentlemen here, but my personal opinion, I think Trey Pipkins starts the year off as a starting right tackle, just based off of what I seen last year. He was really good, and in the limited amount of time that he played. The one thing about Trey Pipkins, though, is that he is a much better run blocker than Storm Norton is. You can get behind Trey Pipkins on the right side of the line, and you can run. You can actually run some stuff to his side. You don't just have to be a predominantly left running team, which the Chargers were last year, obviously running behind Rashawn Slater, Matt Filer, Corey Linsley on that left side. You're talking about like 70% of the runs went to the left side last year, right? Which is understandably so. But now with the addition of Zion Johnson, and everybody expects him to be the right guard, you're going to be able to run some stuff with Zion Johnson and Trey Pipkins at right tackle because they are both two big bodies, and they can clear out some space for Eckler, Spiller, or whoever is in there running the ball. So I do think Pipkins starts at the right tackle just because he has more value in the run game. Storm Norton is not the run blocker that Trey Pipkins is. Storm Norton, he plays really high in the run game. His pad level is very high. And him being a big guy, 6'5", whatever, you have to be able to drop your pad level to move people out of the way. You're not going to be encountering and going head up with 6'5", 6'6" linebackers. They're not that big, so they're going to be able to get under you. They're going to be able to get off your blocks. They're going to be able to get around you. All of that type of stuff, right? So I think Pipkins offers more value as far as a complete tackle right now. And that's just right now. There's no telling what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of time between, training camp and when the start of the season happens. Like I said, injuries happen. I'm sure the Chargers are going to be looking at the waiver wire, seeing which team is letting go of tackles and stuff like that. And then, also, last but not least, Jamari Sawyer is on the team as well, too. He provides a lot of versatility as a lineman. He has played the right tackle position before, not a lot in college, but he has lined up there. So, he can feel his way around the position. And he is, I did a video on him. He's a He's a big guy. He's got long arms, but I think his footwork needs a little. It needs to be polished a little more, because I think he will struggle the same way that Storm Norton and Trey Pipkins both did with the faster pass rushers and the guys who can bend a lot more. But there are options at the right tackle position. I don't think that the Chargers are just completely asked out at the position, as they say. They there's options here, right? And Storm Norton had a lot of experience last year, so if he got any better, you can plug him in and he's gonna know what to do. Same offense as last year. All you got to do is just get better on your with your technique and things like that, and you'll have more success. Same thing with Trey Pipkins. It's the same offense. You don't have to learn a new playbook, so you can come in, know what you have to do, work on your technique. I believe he's working with Rashawn Slater's trainer, so I think he's trying to pick up some stuff to improve his game. He's trying to improve his pass blocking, and we'll see how it turns out in camp. I think it's going to be a very interesting training camp. I think this right tackle position is going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see who is number one on the depth chart at right tackle. This is a battle a lot of people are going to be watching. Like I said, this is going to be an NFL wide battle. And that's going to determine how teams are going to strategize to play the Chargers offense as well too. So that's another thing to look out for. But yeah, I kind of just wanted to touch on this right tackle position because everything else seems to be covered. Everything else has been addressed. It's just the right tackle position, and it's really not anybody's fault. You can only do so much as a team in a hard salary cap sport. So, but we're here now in the hard salary cap, and it is what it is, right? And the Chargers got to make do with what they have now until they're able maybe to possibly sign somebody or maybe execute a trade in training camp for a established right tackle, but until that happens, they just got to make do with what they have now, and I think they'll be able to get through the season successfully, with either of these guys, especially if they, have made the individual improvements that they needed to make. I think they can get there, but that's pretty much all I got for this video, guys. If you like this content, please give me a thumbs up on the way out. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. I have more and more content coming out very, very soon. Thank you guys for the support, and I will see you later.